Hey YouTube, welcome to Daddy's RC Addiction. I am Steve, and today we're going to be unboxing, setting up, and flying the Eachine E-180.
Subscribe. Ding the bell.
So in the box, you get the instruction manual, which has all your basic information. It has the setup for the E6 Eachine radio. You've got your throttle curves and your pitch curves if you're going to be using the Eachine E6. All basic directions how the radio functions with the helicopter, the flight controller, and it has an exploded view for the heli, and some spare parts in the back. So my particular version is the bind and fly version, so I don't have the radio. I'm going to be hooking it up to my own Jumper T12 radio. My version came with the 4 batteries, so I've got 3 batteries here, 1 battery in here. So I've got everything out of the box. You got your manual, you got your horizontal boom fin, you got a couple extra grommets in case the ones on here rip. You get a Phillips head screwdriver, a spare tail fin, you get 2 extra blades, you get a charger that I wouldn't recommend you use. It will work, but get a real good hobby grade charger. It'll keep your batteries much healthier than this thing will. And I got the 4 3-cell 700 mAh LiPo batteries with my version, and obviously the E-180 helicopter. Let's take a little closer look at what this helicopter looks like under the canopy. Let's start with the canopy. It is a very nice looking canopy. I like the design. I love the color, green, yellows, and the white and black looks really nice. It is plastic, however, it's not fiberglass, but that is just fine. It should protect the components just fine. So all the parts on this helicopter are aluminum and carbon fiber, which is very nice. The linkages to the swash plate are plastic and they are non-adjustable. It has dual brushless motors. The main direct drive motor is a 3606 brushless motor, and the tail motor is an 1104 brushless motor. The specs on the metal geared servos, I couldn't find them anywhere. And so this may be an area for upgrades to make them a little faster. We'll have to see how fast they are once we fly them. Hopefully they're pretty good, but only time will tell. The fly barless unit seems pretty nice. It has a port for S-Bus and DSMX in case you are looking to use a satellite receiver. If not, the internal SFHSS receiver will work just fine depending on what remote control you are going to use. The rotor head set here, I don't really know why they decided to use rocker arms and not just go straight DFC. The only thing I could think of is these were already made and they did not want to waste the product that they had, because it seems like the fly barless unit could totally run a DFC rotor heads and they wouldn't have needed the rocker arms, but it is what it is. Definitely before you get this thing up in the air, you're going to want to go through and make sure all the screws are tight, especially the main feathering shaft that goes through from grip to grip. One side of mine had Loctite on it, the other side didn't. So also none of the bearings, the shaft, anything inside here was greased up. So I took this all apart and I greased up the bearings and the and greased up the shaft and got this moving nice and smooth. The E-180 comes with an XT30 connector, and one other really cool feature it has a little clip here because this has a battery tray. You pull this clip forward and the battery tray comes right out, and when you push the battery tray back in, these little indents here, you push it in and it grabs the battery tray and holds the battery in. Also on the battery tray, they've already installed some Velcro, and on all the batteries that I got, there was Velcro on it already. So you just undo this, stick the battery on, and it's ready to go. You slide the tray in, it clips in, and it should hold it in place very, very well. So I've got the battery on the tray, so all you need to do is line it up, push it in, and you're done. Connect it up and you're ready to go. So I have my E-180 set up in my Jumper T12. If anybody needs some help setting up the Jumper T12, please let me know in the comments and I can go over my settings that I used for the E-180 in a separate video. Here is a comparison lined up road ahead to road ahead with the E-160, the E-180, and my Blade 180. Okay, the E-180 flight test with my Jumper T12. So here I have it in stability mode, and it feels super tight. I mean, you let go of the sticks after playing with them for a bit, and it just pops immediately right back to center, which is really, really awesome for a beginner. I don't know that this is a beginner heli. It's got a lot of power for a beginner, so maybe your second heli. But however, I wanted to see if there was a way to kind of get a little bit more of an angle, out of it. So I tried to dial down the gyro, and no matter where I set the gyro, it still had the same angle, and it would snap back just as fast. So there's no real way to, at least with my radio, and I'm assuming with the flight controller, there's no way to get any more angle out of that gyro system. So here you can see we popped it into idle up, and it feels pretty good, feels responsive, but each radio has its own things that you need to tweak with it, and I know from experience that the Jumper T12, everything is really tight. So this is, I think, my first settings with it, so I'm going to need to go in and mess with it a little bit more. Straight out of the gate, I felt I had to dial down the head speed and everything because it was just like way too powerful with some normal settings of like 80 across the board on the throttle. So I think I've dialed it down to like 55 on idle 1, and I think like maybe 65 or maybe 70 on idle 2, and it just still feels like it has a ton of power. I'm not the best 3D pilot, so maybe someone who's more experienced and has better skills than I have would be able to jump that throttle up. I think this is my second battery, and I believe in this flight I changed some of the settings. Like I said, I dialed back the throttle curve. I think I even dialed back the pitch curve a bit too. And it's starting to feel more like how I'm comfortable flying. But that again is an individual thing. I got a little close-up view of it. It is a really, really nice looking heli. I think here, this must be the third battery. Or you know what? I think that when I landed before, I think I landed because I wanted to make some changes. So I made a couple of changes in the radio, and now I'm up again. I believe this here, I have it in stability mode and just doing some circuits to see how that feels. And again, if this is your second heli, I think in stability mode you would feel very comfortable flying this, but not your first. It's just too much power to never have flown a heli before and try to take this thing up in the air. Even in stability mode, I feel like you might feel a little overwhelmed. So, so overall, it has nice characteristics, and it responds very well. I still have to tweak the radio to match up with how the heli performs. It's much better than right out of the gate, but it isn't quite where I like it. So here I'm doing some inverted flight, and you saw before I was doing some TikToks. Again, I'm not very good. I could do TikToks, forward TikToks and side to side TikToks, and fly upside down a little bit, and rainbows and things like that. I could do some tricks, but by no means am I a expert at 3D flight. I don't know what this maneuver is called, where you kind of go up and you float up, you do like a big circle, but I really like doing those. Those are fun, and they test your skills to keep it afloat while you're trying to make a nice circle. I really do like the heli. So it's just a matter of tweaking my radio. And if you wanted an inexpensive or an alternative to the OMP Hobby M2, this would be the one, because it is pretty inexpensive and it does perform very well. Probably not like the M2, but I don't have an M2, but it flies pretty good. One last circle loop here, and coming in for, I believe, the final landing here. Okay, so I think that the E-180 flies pretty good. Again, I got it hooked up to my Jumper T12, and I got a little bit more tweaking to do to make it fly a little smoother. It was a little twitchy. I am not the best 3D pilot, but compared to some of my other helicopters, it was a little twitchy. So I got to tweak this a little bit for my personal flight style. Now, this heli, I would say, is probably in direct competition with the OMP M2. Does it fly as well as that? I don't know. I don't have an M2, so I don't know. But the M2, I know, has really high quality parts and standards, so I'm just going to take a shot in the dark and say the M2 is probably going to fly better. And it has a proper DFC head, where this has some arms on it. So it does fly well, though. It does fly very good. This is my first direct drive heli, and it does fly very good. Once I tweak the radio, it should fly even better. As far as, could this be for like a beginner? I'm gonna say no, because this guy does have a lot of power. You can dial it down, but it has a good amount of response and a good amount of power. I think if you have never flown a heli before, you should go to something a little bit lighter, a little bit less fragile in a crash. You crash this, you're probably damaging something. You crash a smaller heli, maybe you might break a blade, maybe a gear, but you're not going to break anything. So I would say this would be a great second heli after you've kind of learned the maneuvers of a helicopter. This would be a great second heli. The self-leveling is super tight. Maybe there's a way to get it a little bit loose, but as you see, when I was doing in self-leveling, I pitch it one way, let go to 6, it would just pop back so quick, which is, I guess, good if you're a beginner. But I would like it to be a little bit softer, but it's pretty tight. I would say, all in all, it's a great heli, and if you are looking for an inexpensive M2 type model direct drive heli, this is going to be the one. The Eachine E-180.
Subscribe. Ding the bell.